I'm a pretty slow adopter to anything new. How long have we been injecting peptides in humans?
People are self-diagnosing, taking things on their own. I'm not trying to take responsibility away from whoever injected her.
You're injecting this into your body. Right?
Peptides have only one receptor. You can get to extremely high performance and excelling in energy, excelling in all these things without putting in the work.
Eliza Parker, Dr. Eliza Parker.
The Dr. Eliza Parker.
That, I got to tell you something. If you are new to the show or you've been watching the show for a while, this episode went so fast. She had so much that she taught us tonight about peptides. By the way, she's an incredible aesthetic doctor, but she has really delved into peptides, and we learned a ton. We learned more about how you should be taking these things, how you should be kind of vetting. It's kind of shocking, like how many of these things affect so many different things in your body.
I think she really gave us the good, bad, and ugly of the peptides. And I mean, honestly, I'm a double board certified surgeon, and I learned so much from her. The peptides are new. We didn't learn about that shit when I was in med school. We didn't learn about that shit. I mean, this is new. So I have her on speed dial on my phone because so many patients are asking me about it. And I think we need more people like her who are super knowledgeable.
Yeah, if you want to learn about peptides from someone who's not trying to sell you peptides, this 100%. Is your episode.
Yeah. It was interesting, I thought it was really cool that she kind of was talking about how you do it in spurts. You don't want to just take these for the rest of your life. You do it for a little bit, you use it when you need it, you get off it when you can. Like, that was an interesting approach.
That was totally. Go to check this out. You're going to love it. It's awesome. Dr. Eliza Parker, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
In full disclosure, Eliza is me and Ben's partners.
Dom is our boss, essentially, is what he's saying.
No, I did not.
I'm related.
And we're both here, under the contempt of Dom, and we have to do whatever he says.
We do. What do you want?
That is bullshit. She is a partner, but she's amazing. I've had a chance to have a meal with Eliza, and I've had several coffees, and she has an incredible brain. So we're super excited to have her on the show. What's a little bit different tonight is Eliza is so well known for being an absolute master when it comes to aesthetics. But what a lot of people don't know about Eliza is she has this incredible, adventurous, curious brain who is always like learning more and more and more and more. And I want to tell just a quick story before we jump in. So I was in Chicago. I was in there for a conference. I came in to see Eliza, and we were going to dinner together with a bunch of our other doctors. And I said, Eliza, I do not feel well. I was like, what can we do? And Eliza basically was like, yeah, come on in. She goes, don't worry about it. I got you. And Eliza, I don't even remember what you injected me with.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
But 2 hours later, I felt amazing. And I think I was right on the brink of being just sick. And I felt amazing. And then I spent the whole weekend in Chicago with friends, and I was fantastic all weekend. Into the next week, no problems. It was incredible. And so that got me excited and interested. But you have been in the world of peptides and vitamins and all these things.
Bioidentical hormones. I've been doing all of it forever.
Yeah, and we're just so interested in this. First of all, how did you get interested in this? Being, an aesthetic doctor, right?
Do you want me to dial it all the way back? I mean, how far?
Yeah, dial it all the way back. Dial it all the way back. Yeah.
So back at the beginning, when I applied to med school, I applied to acupuncture school at the same time. I've always had an interest in wellness and Eastern and Western medicine. I applied to the Andrew Weil program for, wellness and longevity and all that stuff. Got into that fellowship. So I've done a lot of things before actually coming around to this. So honestly, this has been kind of my evolution since I've been literally out of college. So this is something I studied some of this in college too. So this is sort of just my passion. So when other people have free time, they might be reading the sports page. I'm the dork who's reading about this latest thing. I'm never, ever going to get bored of this stuff. So it doesn't mean I know everything. It's an active learning, and it's always changing. So that's not what I'm saying. It's just I love it, and it started really early. And before like I joined the Voss Collection, I worked with a wellness practitioner. She was my partner for a while. COVID shifted things a little bit, but I mean, she brought me a lot of wealth of information too. So we at the clinic were doing a ton of this stuff. We were doing like genetics on people, getting them on the best supplements for their genes. I do that on my own, just like for families and friends. I can set you up and same with you, Ben.
You actually gave me some advice.
We need to be set up, Ben. We need to be set up. This is it.
You might not want to know what I find.
We just had a sex therapist on. If you weren't listening to the last person,
go.
It was pretty awesome. It was pretty. Was it fair? It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I could cut more of that. I'll catch it later though.
Okay.
So it's been something I've been doing, and then the aesthetics, is my art, and that's where I get into my meditation, and that's where I meditate when I'm at work, and then the other stuff is where my brain's working all the time.
And by the way, Dr. Eliza Parker, she's the founder of Cadella in Chicago, in the Gold Coast, also now in Oak Brook.
And
Northbrook. I think for people that are really, peptides are right about to, I feel, really, really go mainstream. In fact, on the day that we're talking, the FDA is having discussions about peptides, and a group inside the FDA. I think, can we start out, because I think there is so much misinformation out there. Can we just start out with what a peptide is and how it works? I think that would be super helpful for people.
I think it would too. So I'll say it simply, and then I'll say it even simpler. So a peptide is between 4 and 50 amino acids. What's an amino acid? That is basically a molecule that makes up a protein. Okay, so these are tiny little sequences of amino acid, and their only job is to send a message. They are messengers. Okay, so if you think about hormones or this or that, they're doing a little bit more milieu, but a peptide has a specific receptor in a specific cell, and it's doing a specific thing. So they're very targeted. They're really interesting. You could go on forever. They're in different parts of the world where they've been using and dealing with peptides. But what's interesting is you have an opportunity with them to optimize cellular function. Does that help? Is that simple enough?
I love what you just said. If we could just like that, is you said peptides help to optimize cellular function.
They do. It depends on which ones you use and what you want to use them for.
Right.
But it's just different. Like, so say you're using PRP or secretome or something, you're going to send a ton of messages and you're setting an environmental, like a situation for a cell to be optimized. This is specifically saying, okay, right now you're going to organize the way you create collagen. Right now you're going to downregulate inflammation so you don't die fibroblasts. So like these are sending very specific messages. They're like it's just talking.
That's it. And for people out there that are concerned about this in the sense of, I've heard about all this, it's really interesting, but I'm still concerned. I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. How can they get comfortable around that this is
science approach,
something that is not terribly unsafe?
Well, I think the first thing is so I just want to speak a little bit to, yes, it's becoming mainstream, but we all know it's a little bit of a Wild West right now. And I feel like it's becoming a little too mainstream, and people are just throwing them out. Hey, take this to sleep. Take this to get your growth hormone up. What are we doing? What is happening with this person's body? So the question the consumer should be asking is, who knows what this is, and can it help me specifically? Because a lot of people, I don't even think they're appropriate for. I think it has to be a very specific thing. So yes, they're going mainstream, but we're a ways away from them being, I think, correctly administered in the right way.
I would love, by the way, to get a course on this, probably from you, Eliza, but because so many of my patients I'm literally 70%. They're like, oh, hey, I'm doing this BK 157. Is it? What about this? I'm like, honestly, I don't know enough about it.
That one you should, and I gotta send it to you because you would love it for your pre and post surgical. I prep, post, and it's just you just do a small consolidated thing.
Yeah, so many are on it. My answer is normally like, yeah, the science is there for that. I'm a little bit worried if it's cut with mercury or lead or where you're getting it from. I mean? Is there a horse tranquilizer in it? Those are really my biggest concerns. So I never want to tell the patient, yes, do it, because I'm like,
I don't actually.
Hang up. Yeah. So,
I always say, where's your source? I said, because I keep an eye on it like every morning when I'm I read the news, I get up at the crack of dawn, and I have to kind of find out what's going on. But I'm always diving through, okay, the ads that pop up, because of course they're going to go with what I'm interested in. I can buy 1 million peptides and they're like, oh, they're for the lab, but you can buy them if you want.
Yeah.
No. What are you doing? Like, you can buy them on just any website, and they're from China, or I'm not saying it's bad necessarily where they're from, but to me, they have to be produced here. They have to produce something that's we know there's no mercury, we know what their carrier is, and you should actually be reconstituting them yourself, so that way you don't know, you know what's in them.
Yeah, and I was going to say, in full disclosure here for us in the audience, Voss is going deep into this.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time, and I want to just say something that Eliza just said. If you're getting things that are manufactured outside the U.S., you don't know what you're necessarily getting. If they're getting done in places that don't have proper licensing, that aren't doing both internal testing and third-party testing, and all these these are important things. You're injecting this into your body. Right? So I'm glad we started the conversation here, because this was a safety first part of this conversation.
110%. I tell people not to do things more than I tell them to do them.
Yeah. And so now we've talked about the safety first. I think it's really important.
Has to be. Yep.
Now let's actually go to delve into, this is pretty amazing stuff.
It is.
Like it is. So can we talk a little bit about that? Like, from your experience, what are you seeing? What are you using? And what are you prescribing for? I think that would be really great.
So I'm guessing there's a lot of different things. You can talk about vitamins and coenzymes like NAD+, which I'm happy to address because we do a lot of that. And you got a lot of those, by the way, Dom, when you weren't feeling well. When we talk about the GLP-1s, that's a separate conversation I'm happy to address, especially with Retrotrutide now in the mix, and I can discuss that if you're interested. When it comes to the peptides specifically, that there's so many. But what I'm trying to do is, first of all, have a very extensive vocabulary, but focus on the aesthetics portion. So I have worked them into my protocols very specifically. So, and for certain patients. So that's a biologic stacking, and so I like to prep. This is sort of a standard biologic stacking. So I start them 3 to 5 days before with a combination, depending again on the patient, but this is more of a common one, of copper peptide, sort of the queen of the dermal peptides, and then BP 157, TB 500, and KPV. And that's one of my cocktails. I'll go through what they each do. The point is the macro point is, before you undergo the procedure, we want to optimize where your cells and your fibroblasts are when we give them the stimulus. And the stimulus is going to be, could be Sculptra, it could be microneedling, it could be a surgical procedure, anything that's going to, interfere with the body's healing system. So then you have the stimulus, and then I have them stay on this same protocol for 7 to 14 days after. And then what that does, and I'll go through each one now, it really sets the stage for controlled inflammation and organized collagen production, which is very different than disorganized collagen production. So,
Eliza, wait, I have one quick question, which is going to sound stupid, probably. Are these IM, subcutaneous, topical? Like, how do you do? Sub-Q, okay.
And a Botox needle, like small.
But just you give it in the shoulder and it's systemic.
I give them in the stomach, and it's systemic.
Or whatever.
Or where they're comfortable, or in the hip.
By the way, for all the non-doctors on the show, that's a shot. You're getting a shot. Just throwing that in there.
Yeah, I'll go back to delivery if you'd like in a minute. So the idea is, for example, to create the biostimulation is awesome, but why do some people have a robust response to something like Sculptra and somebody doesn't? And the question that I'm asking, and I think a lot of people are, is why are they not responding? And I think, our colleague Shino Bay has talked a bit about fibroblast fatigue and different reasons why patients may not be responding. Well, one of the things we want to do is set people up for success. So the BP 157 specifically does a couple of things. So after you have this injury or this stimulation, whether it's the Sculptra or microneedling or what have you, it's going to do a couple things. One, it's going to help the cell survive. It's fascinating. So they've shown that cells that are around BP 157, when they're under stress, they have better survivability. So you don't want to be taking out your cells. You want them to live through the stress. And then it also decreases some of the cytokines that are over-inflammatory. So it kind of settles things down. And then it also has a beautiful thing where it actually helps sort of coerce some angiogenesis, big word, but it brings in some circulation to the area and helps it heal faster. And then you have something like KPV. It's a gentler peptide, and that just keeps the system. I kind of think about it as like, okay, it slows down the we want controlled inflammation, right? But we don't want it to last too long. And it just sort of brings things back and it kind of calms things down appropriately. And then you have your copper, which is really exciting, and we use it in topicals all the time. And it actually is one of the only peptides that I can really talk to you about. The topical application is very efficient, whereas some of these other ones, they really need to be injected. It makes the fibroblasts produce more collagen. It's the only one that actually increases the production, and moreover, it produces collagen that is organized. So I always think of a cell, like if it's been like injured or stimulated, is it going to spaz out and create weird collagen and it's not going to look pretty? Or do you want it perfectly laid down, even youthful skin, right? And so TB500 is actually a synthetic peptide. It's from thymosin beta 4, okay? And that's the biological version, but we've created a synthetic version, and it's pretty awesome. It tells cells to go to where the injury is. It's like it gets everyone organized. It helps cells migrate, and it also is a big booster for vascular regeneration. So it sends vessels to send in supplies. I feel like, okay, let's send in the cavalry, but in a controlled, calm way. So it's pretty neat to do that. The key with all of these is you don't want to be doing them for too long. So I feel like patients that come to me like, oh, I've been on these peptides forever. And I'm like, I prefer to do pulses, and I like try to get them around their procedures. So they're primed, they have the procedure, then they recover, and then they get much better results than they would have if they didn't have this. A young patient who's 30, no, sorry, you can heal just fine on your own. Eat your blueberries, drink your water, take your, eat your protein, have some chicken. I'm not giving that to them. I'm just not, unless there's a reason to.
I have a couple questions, and I think you can both probably speak to it. I know, Dom, you've been researching this a lot lately as well. Okay, I'm a pretty slow adopter to anything new. I think it's like a surgeon thing. We really don't, I don't like to do things until I'm positive. Not that you're not positive, but it's just, I get concerned. Like how long have we been injecting peptides in humans?
Well, if you really want to go back, if you want to take it outside the country, in Russia for decades. This is not new technology. It's new to us, but this has been going on forever. Not forever. At least 50 years. Long
time, yeah. But in the U.S., have we been injecting these in people for 20 years yet? Or they seem like my brain completely goes to like, it seems like they. And I'm pro all of this, of course. I think it could be good for everybody.
But you don't need to be. It's a good discussion.
But if it's really manipulating the cells like we say it is, that's good. But also, you don't want it, like maybe it's going to go out of control and also support some little festering, tiny little cancer.
No, I'm going to back it up. No, back up. So remember, peptides do not do, that's more thinking about PRP. That's going to be an overall thing. Peptides have only one receptor. They only have a couple of specific places they can go. They can't just make things go wild, and they basically optimize a cell to do what it knows how to do. It doesn't take it outside of its own range. So for example, if a person is a great collagen producer, they do everything right, would these peptides make them respond better? Probably not, because they're already optimized. But if a person who is not optimized and their cells aren't really responding, they're not telling each other what to do, this is going to optimize it. So I want to be careful that we don't think, okay, this peptide's going to have, because it's a tiny little message that's only received by maybe a single or maybe two different receptors, and it's only doing one thing. But you've got a good point. How do we know that this specific sequence of amino acids isn't having other effects in the body? That's a good question. And,
because like Alaclay or these fat injection, cadaver fat. And there's a lot of people use it, and patients ask me about it all the time. I was like, I can always get fat on anybody, so I don't think we necessarily need cadaver fat. Most people have, you can get a couple, 10 cc's, 30 cc's of fat on anybody. But yeah, it's just from my perspective, it's just I'm always concerned about what's going to happen downstream? Like, can you overdose on these? Can you, do we have the dosage down? That's why when patients ask me, I'm not playing, but I kind of just play dumb. I'm like, I honestly don't have enough information to give you advice on that at this moment. So, it's good that you're experienced with it, and I think you're pushing the.
I'm careful too, and I appreciate your caution, Ben, because I think that's actually an appropriate response. Because with each one of these molecules or these peptides, I mean, personally, I read the papers where they've studied it with tensins or XYZ in a controlled setting. But mind you, you're right. They maybe have been used for over 50 years, but have we studied them for 50 years? Not necessarily. And again, I also don't believe in constantly priming the system and manipulating the system either. So I feel like they're really helpful around an aesthetic procedure specifically right now. Like, I have other thoughts in functional medicine, but the way I'm positioning them only is around the people who I think are having trouble responding appropriately to like a procedure that I don't think they can mount the appropriate response. And they have to be interested. I mean, I let them know. Everyone wants it. They bring me papers of all these docs who are doing it, and I look at them, and a lot of us are doing very similar things and some tweaks here and there. But I think caution is really smart.
And then, the orthopedic surgeons are really good. They were like the PRP people.
I
think they invented PRP or invented whatever. They really get it.
Yeah. And the dentist too.
Yeah,
but they've been all over it.
So are these guys? I mean, if it seems like these should be more mainstream quicker. Like, why isn't insurance paying for this? It's going to get the 90-year-old woman out of the hospital a day early for her hip replacement. Yeah, so I guess.
But you got the drug companies. I mean, these aren't really drugs, so I don't really know where that plays out, but I don't know.
Doesn't make people money yet, yeah.
It doesn't. And I mean, BP 157 you can also take orally, and I know a lot of people are on that, and you may, it's changing. Like my dad down in Florida went to the neurologist for something, and he left with a whole bunch of different vitamins to take. That is new, and like the things are changing.
Yeah, I think we're in the evolution. Like, we're in a very interesting place right now because we understand that our system has always been put in place to not be preventative. And I think we're actually just about to start seeing this preventative medicine get more mainstream. I think this is a step. I want to do a couple of housekeeping things here from what Eliza said, because I think it's really important. As I mentioned before, Eliza is I'm going to call you a famous aesthetic medicine doctor, if that's okay.
I'm famous. Okay. I don't know about that.
He calls me infamous, Eliza. So,
she's incredible at what she does. And in the Gold Coast, that's where you go. You go to Cadella, you go to Eliza, end of story. She mentioned a couple things that some people may not know. So we mentioned Sculptra. Sculptra is a biostimulator that helps your body create its own collagen. Is that fair if I summed that up,
Correct.
Eliza?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's perfect.
I'm paying attention to you. So what Eliza was saying is that we're seeing a lot more biostimulator across the medical aesthetics in general. We're seeing that there. But what Eliza is saying is that if you mix the fact that you've gotten Sculptra with a certain grouping of peptides, that Sculptra may do what it's supposed to do a lot better. Did I summarize that okay?
You did a beautiful job. So I really think you assess the patient. How do we get the best result for them in wherever they are medically? And so I don't think it's a cookie cutter situation where I think this is where it gets tricky. I do not offer this to all my patients at all. I know them. I know their skin. I know kind of how they've responded or not responded. So people who I'm like, okay, we need a good response, and I don't think they've responded as well as they should have. These are my candidates right there. And I do lab work on a lot of people, and I get a good sense of what's going on internally, because why aren't they healing well? Why isn't the Sculptra giving them what I expected to? You got to get to the bottom of that. So that's where the comfort is. Like in a pop-up Botox clinic who's offering peptides, are they going to look into what your IGF-1 is? Are they going to look into what's going on internally before they do a procedure? If I'm going to do a huge stack procedure, I want to make sure the patient's set up correctly to get an insanely good result. So we do a lot of that too. So I think there's some differentials there that you really, it's not Tylenol or a basic medication. You really need to make sure it's healthy and safe.
And one question I had, so I got some people in the neighborhood that are on this Wolverine peptide.
Yeah, that's just BP. It's just a couple of the things I just told you about. It's two of them.
Is that a combination of some of the things you talk about?
Yeah,
but
it's just a way to talk about it.
The More You podcast is sponsored by
Voss Collection, which is a curated network of leading physicians and providers in medical aesthetics. The Voss Collection is the Michelin star of medical aesthetics.
across every clinic that's part of the Voss collection. The one thing that's the same is that it combines medical expertise, incredible experience, with the absolute perfect touch of artistry that makes this truly personalized for every single patient that walks into the clinic.
And the key is there's so many specialists from different perspectives that learn from one another, hold each other accountable to those levels of expertise. That's what makes us better. That's what makes us the best.
All focused on one goal and one goal only, achieving you a remarkable result.
This is the Voss collection.
Is there some human growth hormone in some of these peptides?
Well, no. So let me back up. That's a great question
shouldn't
because
be.
you get this a lot.
That's
There
the
should
thing.
not be. That's a bad thing. And like Ben says, you need to know where you're sourcing. So tesmorelin, samorelin, I don't know if you guys know of these, ipamorelin, and there's one called CJC 1295. So these are kind of other specific ones. They are secretogs. I don't even know if I'm saying the word correctly, but basically so to simplify it, when you create growth hormone, your hypothalamus, a place in the brain, sends a message to your pituitary, the front of your pituitary, to secrete growth hormone. These do not give you
Isn't
growth
that how I
hormone.
hit puberty? Is that how I hit puberty?
That was involved. There was definitely involved.
Okay, just checking.
So
I just want to make sure.
it doesn't do, but it actually takes out, it basically sends the message to tell the pituitary directly to make more growth hormone. So I'll have to tell you, I'm very careful with this because people are diving really into the growth hormone piece, but there's also other ways you can naturally get your growth hormone to come up. And I think I'm a little bit more of a proponent of that, unless there's a specific issue at hand. So I don't know if I don't feel like, at least at this point, I like that and understand it and, talk about it, maybe practice it a little bit, but not in the aesthetic space at this point. I don't think it's appropriate.
Got it. Because
That's just me though. I'm really slow to these things too, Ben, actually. I take my time.
Yeah, and I've been just watching from afar, and I have, again, some people that I know, I feel like they've been on like growth hormone for years.
That's not good for you.
And I'm thinking, that's not good. That's not good, right? No.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's sunlight, it's sleep, it's water, it's nutrition. It's the basics that are always going to come back. I'm sorry. They're the number one things.
Do some
Always.
squats. Like,
Yes, thank you. Exercise.
Yeah. Right. So that's what, because I just want people to hear that on the show.
I literally give my people a prescription to go home and eat 2 cups of blueberries and eat this much protein after they have procedures, because I would rather them even get it from food. Like but they have to get good food. I mean, I really believe the body can do what it needs to do, but it has to be set up. These peptides are really interesting, but just laser isn't a normal thing either. Like we are manipulating the body and the skin to look 10 years younger. So, I mean, it's in conjunction with us doing what we're doing, but not necessarily for everyday use. That's how I see it. I see it as we're using it in combo with.
That's really, I think that's an important point that people should hear. This is not for everyday use.
Not in my mind, but I don't know.
And what to give more about the and Dom, sounds like you know this too. So who makes this and where can you buy it? And so are these compound pharmacies making this, or you can't buy it from Eli Lilly yet, or right?
Not
well,
from
I
the
guess
big
some of the
drug
peptides,
companies.
some of the
There's-
peptides you can. But
Tesmorelin is actually FDA approved that is one of these peptides within the growth hormone axis, DOM, that is FDA approved for HIV, lipo, basically belly fat.
lipodystrophy. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So it is on label for that specifically, and apparently it works really well. I actually do have it in my clinic. I mean, it is an adjunct to things like the GLP-1s, and that one is FDA approved. But yeah, the compound pharmacies are pretty much the only place you can get them. So you have to be very careful where you're sourcing and who your compound pharmacies are. I tend to use really big ones, the ones that I really trust, that have a lot of scrutiny and a lot of eyes on them. The little tiny ones, I stay away from.
Yeah, I mean, for the general listener, I mean, I barely know what a compounding pharmacy is. It's like, these are. So explain it a little bit. These are pharmacist driven, right? Or they have to have a pharmacist involved. But how do you become I mean, it's not CVS, it's not Walgreens, but.
No, I mean, I'm going to get the nomenclature wrong. So just bear with me. I don't know if it's a 503 like there's a specific classification for a compound pharmacy that's unique that isn't your regular one. So for example, Empower Pharmacy, Olympia Pharmacy, I use those a lot. They're well known. People are always scrutinize them. They are big and they worked really hard to get those specific standards in place. So I really focus on trying to find, and I'm not here to like tout any of these specific pharmacies, but I get very nervous for small ones that don't have that specific
But they could sponsor
standard.
the podcast if they wanted to, for instance.
Oh, for sure.
These pharmacies. Dom,
Yeah.
this is where you
And-
chime
and I
in.
think
You know,
what's
Dom, I
important-
said these big pharmacies could sponsor the podcast if they were to want to.
Oh, yeah, I like
come
where
on.
you're going with
this
that.
Is your,
But-
this is that's your lane. Come on, man. Give it.
But Eliza just said something.
Yeah.
It is totally my lane, and yes, we will get them to sponsor us. But I just want to say, Eliza's on something that's so important. I just want people to hear this loud and clear. If you are not getting compounding pharmacy from a 503A, 503B type pharmacy, they have licensing, they have credentialing.
I was
they
right. I
have-
got the right letters.
Yeah, you have to assure that they have proper. Because here's what we're talking about, guys. I don't want you to think about a little pharmacy. It is a manufacturing facility. That's basically
They're
what
huge.
we're talking about. And what you need is to assure that there's internal testing, there's external testing, there's ingredient sourcing. If you don't have this kind of visibility into what you're getting, it's really important. So for instance, from a Boss perspective, we are focused very much on making sure that we are sourcing from the best places possible. Eliza is part of the Boss collection. She's sourcing from a great place. We don't at this point want Chinese ingredients on a lot of these things because we can't trust them. The good ingredients are mostly made in Europe. Eliza, I don't know if you've heard differently, but that's what our research has taken us to because there's a lot of scrutiny in Europe
They
for the
are.
manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right? So I think people need to understand this because there is a new telehealth service opening up everywhere saying
Yes.
peptides. No one taking your labs. That means no one's drawing your blood. No one's looking at your results. No one's prescribing you and then getting more labs down the line to make sure that you're on track. I mean, this is part of the issue with what's happening in the industry.
I have this argument all the time with that aesthetic, cosmetic, whatever medicine. You know, we still have to diagnose, we still have to treat. Like people kind of, it's got this almost like lackadaisical approach to it, where even when I talk about my thing, I'm like, you don't just do lipo on somebody. Maybe fat isn't the problem. Maybe it's skin. Maybe it's muscle. Maybe it's bone. Like you still got to diagnose the person, treat it, and make it like a medical decision. Dom, I talked to you about you. I'm guessing maybe you heard about it, Eliza, but in the Bronx, I think some really young woman, 27-year-old woman, I believe she was injected with what she was told was NAD+, and she died like 2 days later. And I'm assuming it's I forgot where I read it, if it was the Wall Street Journal, but I'm assuming it was probably some sort of contamination that she got injected. 'Cause
Absolutely,
You really can't OD on these peptides, right? I mean, they're
Well, that's not a
generally safe.
peptide. That's a coenzyme.
Oh, that's
but
true.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
NAD+.
Yeah.
Well, it was like a longevity doctor that injected her with like some serum, like to make her feel better. Like, so I'm assuming it was probably some, interactions with something it was cut with, so.
That or what was she taking also? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are self-diagnosing, taking things on their own. I'm not trying to take responsibility away from whoever injected her, but the person who's getting these procedures, they have a responsibility too to really do their research. I have just to back on that. And I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but I have a lot of young women coming into my clinic right now, and they're telling me they're on retatrutide, they're doing this, they're doing that, and I said, okay, we're just gonna take a minute, and we're gonna sit down, and we're gonna talk. And I'm like, what are they doing? What are they addressing? What are they trying to do? And they're young women in their late 30s are tired because their mom's like, well, I'm just tired. So I went and then I got this done. And I said, did they take your labs? If so, can I take a look at them? And then I can't help myself. I just dive in because I think these young moms don't necessarily need to be on this massive cocktail. It kind of panics me. And I'm like, okay, you need to stop. And I've had so many people stop because I don't think this is an appropriate setting. Maybe they can take my advice or leave it. But I just feel like that's really irresponsible. But a lot of people don't know, and they're just, oh, my friend's doing it, I'm going to do it. But they're responsible. You have to think about what's going on with your
But I think
body.
can I hit two really important things here, and I want to connect two worlds together if I can, is that is no different than someone walking in to a med spa and sitting down with an injector who's been injecting for 2 months and them sticking needles in their face and injecting away. And
It's going to be happening. You're right.
that's not much different than what we're talking about. It's
isn't.
based on time and patience and education and training and experience that gets you a great result. And the bottom line is, whether it's aesthetics, whether it's peptides, you have to put yourself in a situation that you are going to experience. And by going to that experience, you are getting a great result that is consistent and is safe and is standards. And something, sorry, I've been working on an article I've been writing for the last 2 weeks on the difference between like medical aesthetic clinics and what I'm really calling retail aesthetic clinics.
That's an excellent comparison.
But it's an
know.
interesting point
Contrast.
because we don't have the general public understanding that there is indeed a difference between all of these things. It's just like anything else. You have to actually do your homework. You have to put yourself in a position. You don't want to go in and be someone's 10th sculpture injection that they've ever done. Like, to be able to do that.
We've seen all these nightmares that come in and they want to get fixed, Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it. But the thing is, when you're messing with peptides and you're starting to do these things, like to Eliza, to your point, hey, you may not need this.
Oh my gosh, no, this is not for everybody. Not at all.
Yeah.
And also, you got to make sure it's in the setting of a healthy body. I have a very perfect patient that is an excellent person to say is a perfect person for the peptides. She's about my age. She's 54. She's very consistent and excellent. She comes in all the time, wants a very natural look. But we have noticed she's just not responding in the same way anymore. And I'm actually told her, about the fiber. I said, you need to take a break.
When you said she's not responding in the same way, can you just explain that?
What that means?
What you mean by that? Yeah.
So, she responds to her neuromodulator injections, which is like a Botox. And most people are moving away from filler. So not all people, I do both. And she does some of that in specific ways, and that's fine. But the Sculptra and the laser, and because everyone's pushing towards the biostimulation, and her face is just not reacting the way it used to. I've known her for 10 years. And she doesn't just see me, she sees some of the NPs in the practice too. And I also know her mom, and I think her motivation is to make sure she stays ahead of the game, and I get it. But I had a serious talk with her, and I said, you're doing a lot of things. You're going from me to the NP, and we check our notes. And I'm here to tell you, I think we need a couple months of nothing. And then I know this is going to be really hard for you. And then we can kind of come back in. But she is the person that I said, when you come back, I would like to, she's all about the peptides, but I'm also putting the brakes on her. I'm like, we need to time it, and then you need to go off of it, because I'm seeing how we do, but she's like a perfect person who I'd want to do it. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Why isn't she responding? She's healthy. She's got great medical care. There's nothing wrong. I think she's doing a lot, and I don't know if it's age, I don't know if it's hormones, but she's seen somebody for every one of these things. But I feel like she's a perfect person to see how can we get your results back to where they were.
That's so interesting. And honestly, something I've learned from this today is how probably peptides pair so well with certain aesthetic procedures.
It's just it's like using the PRP, but like of course, you would never use PRP with someone who has a cancer diagnosis, right? You would never use secretome, from stem cells for somebody who might have something like that. So people have to be healthy to do this. But to me, it's in the same vein as that, trying to get the most out of what we're doing.
Eliza, I want to say you were on GLP-1s pretty early. Like I would say you were
they're just peptides.
Yeah.
Well, you were,
They are.
I think the general public doesn't even realize that those are a peptide.
They're,
You know what I
they're
mean?
all
They-
peptides.
These are just,
yeah.
And so we were doing it with my wellness person before the big, you were able to get these before the big Mounjaro Ozempic craze. This is just a weight loss peptide that we were actually using before it became the GLP-1s. We were doing it already.
Well, I'm saying you were such an early adopter. And I think you're the perfect person to tell us. You've seen this evolution now. Like you've watched it because you've been part of it and seen it going. Just questions like, what are you what have you seen now on where we're at, and where's it going? Like, I just want to get it from your perspective.
There's so many levels of where it is and where it's going. I mean, overall obesity in the country is coming down. I mean, some of that's due to this. I mean, it's still very expensive stuff. I think in aesthetics, you have to be very careful. And again, I think you have to know what you're doing. And I think you have to have labs, right? I don't just do labs. I do a full set of vitals before everything. Like I treat this as a medical appointment in my mind. It's not an aesthetic appointment. And, and so I take it maybe even further than their other doctors would. Like I tell them, like, if you're not getting enough nutrition, you get this stuff like people's hair is falling out. This is just mismanaged GLP-1s. Like, you need to take it slow, and you need to be nutrition, and you have to be building your bones and your muscles. Like, it has to be done well. So yeah, we're seeing probably what's going to happen. Maybe with peptides, I don't know, but it's going to become kind of a wild place. And hopefully it settles down into a very hopefully well done thing that can help a lot of people. I mean, now it's applicable to addiction. It's for people, it helps potentially prevent dementia. There's all these areas that it can be applied to. Just lowering your sugar. I mean, just stop eating sugar, but it's really hard to stop eating sugar in this country, right? So I mean, there's so many, I think, amazing applications that aren't about weight loss. So yeah, I feel like it's going to keep growing because they keep finding more things. People are doing better after X, Y, and Z. They may be living longer, but there's also people who are overusing them. And I have some really scary stories that I'm not going to share with you through that aren't necessarily for my patients from our treatments, but from other practitioners and their stories that have blown my mind and show me of the mismanagement of these GLP-1s. So I do it with a lot of focus and care. And if someone loses more weight, that they are cut off. And if I make my NPs check in with me, and if their BMI is I'm like, no. I mean, if you want to go find it on the internet, that's your choice. But this is bad for your body. Like, you are aging now faster than you were before.
And Eliza, I feel like you very early on figured out, and I'm going to maybe say this the wrong way, so please forgive me. It seems like you figured early on, okay, great, we're going to get you on this, we're going to get you to point, and then we're going to kind of really bring it down or microdose this to just level 100%. This off. I feel like you were on that so early. Do you find that effective? I mean, does it work? Does it work well?
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's all about setting expectations, like we all know. I mean, that's part of our job. I have a patient that I'm taking care of right now, and she truly, I mean, she could see Ben or a plastic surgeon as well. I mean, she was, actually, you probably wouldn't want to see her till she lost some weight. I mean, she needed to lose 150 pounds. That's a lot of weight, right? Yeah. And so you need to, explain, and I always, you start slow and you set expectations. I'm looking at not really that different than, say, a Weight Watchers thing. I'm looking at 5 pounds a month. I'm not looking to take off 15. At the beginning, it usually happens a little faster, but then it's slower. And then everything has to be, for this patient, coordinated in that way, but they also know what they're going to expect. So I tell them, if you stop losing weight and we are at our maximum dose, I have other things that we add in that I think are appropriate, like a SLG2, for example, and then we work with that. I also have people I refer to. So I have some excellent medical weight loss folks that they know me, and I'm like, okay, this is outside my scope. I got them as far as I can go. Here you go. And so then they take from there. So I also think we all need to know what we're comfortable with and when we're not. Then when you bring them down, a lot of my patients, honestly, they microdose purely for what they may or may not believe are the good benefits, but they don't want to lose weight. This is truly, and we really are very careful. Or they may just take it once a month or something. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. It's all per patient. That's why these things online scare me, because they get people on these regimens and nothing is personalized and everything should be.
Yeah, the future really is going to be super hyper personalization. Whether it be like genetic panels or, running their entire DNA sequence when it becomes cheap and easy. And, one is good for you, one is good for me, one is good for Dom, and one might be bad for me. One may be, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's really the future.
Ben, imagine that, though. What you're saying, that's where it's going. Where we're going, though, is the opposite. We are seeing an industry that we are basically prescribing peptides, most times with no labs, no vitals, you don't know what your patient is that you're actually now prescribing. That, to me, is really a scary place.
But right? You know what? It also tells me, and this is just my personal perspective, if there's a problem in a system, why is there a problem? So the reason why people are looking outside of conventional medicine is they're not getting what they need. Okay, so that's the big problem, right? So if they were going to their regular doctor and they weren't being treated like they were sick, and they were, like you were saying, if there was some prevention, which is, I hope is changing, but it's really slow. And if they were getting what they needed, they wouldn't be grasping for all of these things. Like, I feel like this is telling me more about where we are than people's desperate needs to do this. It's because they're not getting what they need where they used to get it.
Yeah,
true.
I think that's totally fair. And by the way, Eliza, as we're getting into a close here, I was like, oh my gosh, we need a Eliza part 2. Right? We need to talk aesthetics.
By the way, I seriously want you to give us a course. Not now, but I mean, I think the other, even I'll let you guys do all the treatment and diagnosis and stuff, but I just want to be able to be informed with what the patients are taking and how it's going to affect my outcome. They're all convincing me it's going to improve it. You are now helping me believe that, but yeah, I mean, it's because this is all
Not
new.
all of them.
We didn't have this stuff in med school, right? So this is so new that I just haven't taken the time to learn it. So
yeah, but I also get nervous about some of these courses because what's their agenda? Everything is an agenda, right? So like, are they trying to sell me something? I mean, is it truly like the Association of Anti-Aging Medicine, which I've been a part of? That's been very informative for me because these are people who, it's really rigorous, which is great. I don't know, Ben. I think I don't know. Caution is good.
Yeah, and we're gonna. So Eliza, we're gonna get you back on because I keep saying this. Eliza is a lights out aesthetic medicine doctor.
You're being very kind.
Everything we've talked about with peptides, and she also knows all this stuff, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have you back on just to talk aesthetics, if that's okay.
Oh, fun! Yeah,
I want to just close out a little bit, if we can, on just a few things, because you have so much knowledge on this. When it comes to just like peptide industry, anything, what out there would you say is like straight bullshit, like that you hear? Is there anything that like comes to mind just to help people out there that, you know, people are talking about something?
How much time do we have?
Short amount of time. I was hoping 30 seconds or less.
Okay. Are you talking about general thought or specifically
general
to peptides?
Thought. It could be general thought or
thoughts.
specific. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I okay. How do I do this, Dom? You asked me a really in-depth question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, go ahead.
So BS is that you can get to extremely high performance and excelling in energy, excelling in all these things without putting in the work. It's bullshit. You love that. You cannot, you have to put in the real work. You got to read your labels. You got to do your exercise. You got to sleep properly. If you think these peptides or these hormones or anything is going to somehow make you magically 25 again, you're wrong. And in the same vein, if you think that doing all these aesthetics and looking 24 is the answer, you're wrong too, because it's, you got to also just own your age. I think that's my perspective.
I love that.
Have the magic shot yet, you know?
No.
I don't think there is one. I think
we might get one day. You know, we might get it. You just never know. I'm hopeful.
So let's take the other side of this. Let's take the other side. Yeah. What have you found in this realm on the peptides that you were like, wow, that really works? That's I'm impressed by what that does.
So it's interesting with the peptides. They're subtler than you think. They're not like getting a medication where you're like, whoa, like I don't know if you guys have had NADs, but you're like, whoa, oh my God, this feels weird. Like it's like you feel it, but then you have crazy energy. So Dom, you got like some vitamins and you got some things your body needed, right? And that's a great response. These peptides are so much more subtle than that. It's not, you see the results. It's kind of like you're waiting for your results from your software or something. You're like, it's coming, because you have to. So it's working along that growth line. So it's a much slower process than you'd imagine. So it's not like boom, boom, boom. So I really think when you see these massive things, I honestly think that it has to do more with giving your body what's depleted in. And I don't think they're depleted in peptides, but they can be depleted in vitamins, nutrition, micronutrients, a lot of different things like that.
Okay, that's awesome. Eliza, I've never asked you this question. I've now known you for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Like, if you weren't doing this, if you weren't a doctor, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be a second grade school teacher and writing children's books.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know, you should see my house. I'm nutty at Halloween. There's things everywhere. Like I'm like a mother. Like my patients, even though they're older than me, I'm like, I'm their mom. Like that's just who I am. So I just love kids. So all day when I have this funny thing happen, I'm like, I got to put that in my children's book. I got to do that. So that's my retirement plan, is to really enjoy that. Yeah.
That is so
cool.
that is so awesome. That's I did not know that about you, and that's so great. If you want to be known for anything, Eliza, like what would you want to be known for?
Completely honest, straight talker, and very loving. Those are the things that mean the most to me. And kind of like a protector. Like, I don't know, I like that. My patients come into me and I'm like, just so you know, buck stops here. I'm going to say no a lot. And I love that role. I love that. I want to be known that way. I don't need any sort of famousness. I don't need my face to be on a billboard. That kind of makes me uncomfortable. I'm a really private person. So that's not my thing. But I would love to be known for what I value the most. And those are the things I value the most.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to be flying in fall, and I want some love, and I probably want some shots and all of that. So
I love taking care of people. I love it.
Dom, you can put me on the billboard for the record. You can put my thing.
But Ben, I'm going to be.
He's like, I
I'm
gotta
gonna get
look
love.
good.
Ben, I'm
I'll
going to
take
get
the
love
fame.
from
I'll take
you
the fame.
too,
Yeah.
baby. Don't worry. Dr. Eliza Parker, who is the founder of Cadella Aesthetics, part of the Voss collection. She's my partner, and we're so excited to have you with
this is
us.
so
And we can't
fun.
wait for
I
part.
love it.
We cannot wait for part 2.
I can't
So
either.
thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you guys. It's been a blast.
Good work.
Thank you.